My name is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today we're starting the Lover's Pentacle, Love and Madness. This is Chapter 1, The Lovers. It was a sunny afternoon in Hialeah. The year was 2003. There was a group of maidens waiting in line in the Savannah Apartment. In room 14A, there lived the infamous psychic by the name of Irina. Irina was rumored to have the power to bind the fates of individuals. Waiting in line with the rest of the poor desperate woman was Carina. Carina had recently broken up with her boyfriend, and since she was afraid of ending up alone, she decided to bind herself to her best friend Kain. The pair had been together since high school, and they had a typical on-again, off-again relationship, and she was hoping that with a bit of witchcraft, their relationship could evolve into something more. Carina Garcia was almost 24 years old, and all of her friends were married. She had a petite build, a well-toned body, raven hair, expressive hazel eyes, honey-colored skin, and brown eyes. She didn't consider herself to be pretty, but she knew that she wasn't ugly either. She kept waiting and waiting for her turn to speak with Irina, and she was waiting, either from nervousness or due to the overwhelming heat. After 2 hours that felt like an eternity, Carina was finally able to speak with Irina, and this was the first time Carina had ever entered the home of the infamous psychic. And she was surprised by the cold, calculating blue eyes of the Cuban Russian old maiden. Carina sat before Irina. She was dressed all in white. The only color came from the black and red beads and necklaces and bracelets. The centerpiece was an elewa, covered in honey, surrounded by marbles. Carina looked about the small apartment filled with clutter or children's toys. Only the round table had enough space to accommodate Irina's things. Irina said coldly, "You wish to bind your fate with that of your boyfriend." "Well," said Carina, impressed, "they truly were not exaggerated when they say that you were powerful. I am going to give you the same advice that I gave all the women who passed by my shop. If you want to force your boyfriend to marry you, just get pregnant," said Irina. "But I don't want to have to do that," protested Carina. "I want King to want to form a family with me, not because he has to, but because he loves me." "Let's consult the cards," said Irina, shuffling her tarot cards. Irina threw the cards, and like all alchemy tokens, the meaning of the cards varied from psychic to psychic. The first card that was revealed was the Lover's card upside down, followed by the Hangman. Scars upon Kain's soul keep him from settling down, and his father is the source of all of his frustration. "So what you're telling me is that I need to force Kain to confront his father in order for him to marry me," said Carina, desperately desiring a concrete plan of attacks. "I haven't told you to do anything. The cards only reveal the road you have traveled and your destination. The one doesn't need to be a psychic to know that what you're planning to do is a bad idea. My advice is that you start trying to force your best friend into marrying you and instead cherish your beautiful friendship," advised Irina. "Why don't you want to meet new people?" "Aren't you psychic?" asked Carina. "You should already know the answer to that question." Irina flipped the last card, and when she saw it, she had a hearty laugh. She wiped a tear from her eyes before settling the card back down. Carina, unamused, looked at the final card, the Empress. She didn't understand what about the card had made Irina laugh, and in the end Carina decided that the psychic was just hamming it up for tips. "I still want that binding spell, Irina," insisted Carina. "As you wish," said Irina, extending her hand to receive the just recompense for her services. Carina paid Irina for her time, and she acquired a brown paper bag with spell components and a set of instructions. Carina had to throw the paper bag into the Okeechobee River on the new moon, and this would give her enough time to decide whether she wanted to bind herself to Kain. Carina on impulse decided to send an anonymous letter to Kain's father. She opened the yellow pages, and she looked at the address of Kain Sanson. Carina wrote and rewrote the letter till she was satisfied with the proper tone. "Father, I do not resent you for abandoning me. You were always so busy with your work that oftentimes I felt neglected. I don't hate you, Father. Now that I'm older, I understand the importance of your calling. I do not want to spend the rest of my life being angry at you. When you're ready to be forgiven, you know where to find me. Signed, your son, Kain," who is still waiting patiently for his father to return home. Carina giggled, proud of her tearjerker of a letter. If Jack truly cared about his son, this letter would compel him to go speak with Kain. When she was satisfied with the letter, Carina drove out to Jack's apartment. She slipped the letter under the door before fleeing the crime scene. With his problem out of the way, Carina returned home to prepare herself for her date. There was a time when Carina fancied that she loved Kain. The Kain that she loved no longer exists. In his place there was the cynical, apathetic nihilist. The metamorphosis had been slow, so slow that Carina didn't realize the change until it was too late to do anything about it. Today they were going to the cheesecake factory in Daylight Mall. Kain liked the interior decorations of the restaurant as well as the dessert, and his grandma Esther was also tagging along to the date. Esther was an Irish Catholic woman, aged 67, and she had long, silky silver hair and a wrinkled face and ash-colored eyes. Kain loved his grandma, and she was the only constant in his life, and he loved to include her in all of his activities. Carina looked at her boyfriend over the top. Physically, Kain was a handsome devil. At the age of 23, he was built like the Michelangelo's David. Kain had started life as a wee skinny little twig, and he beefed up quite a bit when his grandpa Raphael began to mold him into his perfect idea of a man. While in school, Kain distinguished himself both in track and wrestling, and this is Kain maintained his form more out of habit, and his face had even features that complemented his short raven hair. The main point of interest of his face were his almost feminine full lips, and his eyes were lackluster, almost as if the soul had left the body years ago. Kain arrived to his date in his police officer uniform, and this was a bit unusual. Kain wasn't the type of person to work overtime. Kain handed Carina the trophy he was carrying. Carina studied the trophy with a bored curiosity. It was a life-saving award. Kain explained, "Last year I saved a stupid brat from drowning, so my uncle gave me this plastic trophy. I would have preferred a raise instead of this worthless piece of plastic." "To get raises, you need to be promoted, son," said Esther dryly, "and to be promoted, you need to put in a bit of effort." "I show up to work, don't I, Grandma? I do everything my uncle tells me," said Kain. "And last month I ticketed more drivers than any of my peers, and where's my trophy for that accomplishment?" Carina said, "What happened to you, Kain?" "Life happened to me, Carina," said Kain. "I spoke to my doctor," said Carina, changing the subject. "You mean your psychic," corrected Kain. "You weren't always like this, Kain," protested Carina. "What happened to you?" "Here we go again," said Kain, rolling his eyes. "Can you at least wait until we eat dessert before criticizing me?" "I'm not here to criticize you. I'm just worried about you, and I think you need help, Kain," said Carina. "Maybe if you finally confronted your father, you wouldn't be so angry and bitter all the time." I agree with Carina," said Esther. "It will do you both to finally pass things off. It isn't his fault that he wasn't able to take care of you." Kain tapped the table nervously with his index finger. When dessert came, Kain breathed a sigh of relief. Carina usually forgot most things whenever there was dessert nearby. The dread of seeing his father again created a temporary change in his behavior, and he shuddered away like a little parrot over all the things that Carina liked, and he pretended to be interested in Carina's psyche. And at a certain point during the conversation, Carina suggested that they do yoga together. Kain agreed to it for the sake of peace. He figured that he could add this stupid yoga class to his workout routine. The trio went to Kain's house, and Kain sometimes shared a living arrangement with his grandmother. Esther paid the utility bills while Kain paid the mortgage. And since her husband's death, Esther spent most of her time with her favorite grandson. Her grandson was so much like her dead husband that at times it was painful. And when the trio arrived home, they found a large box in the front door. Did anyone order anything expensive?" asked Carina. "This box wasn't left by the mailman," said Kain, flipping it around, "and it doesn't have stamps or even an address or even my home address." "Maybe he has a bomb inside," said Esther, hiding behind Carina. "Suegra, you watch way too many news," said Carina, laughing. The friends locked the mystery box inside the house, and based on the sound of it, the box contained something solid. Carina brought a kitchen knife, and she opened the box. Inside there were 2 plastic guitars and a PS2 game. Kain smiled happily, and this was the first time in ages that he had gotten a present he actually liked. As of lately, the only gifts he got were clothing or decoration for his house. Esther was thoughtful about the present, and she imagined that this present was Gen's way of encouraging his nephew to keep up the good work. Esther got changed into her pajamas, and she sat down on the couch in order to watch the news. And Carina entered Kain's bedroom, and she saw the bookshelves littered with comics and books, and there was a row dedicated to Weekly World News. Kain had gotten into the habit of buying that spoof news magazine every time he bought groceries, and in total he had amassed 75 issues. The other reading materials were Harry Potter, Tokyo Babylon, Claymore, Lishino, Saikano, Laughter in the Dark, How to Draw Books, and a bunch of Osamu Tezuka mangas he had bought at a flea market. Below the print media there was a shelf littered with CD, and save inside were the music, books, and movies and episodes of comics that Kain hadn't felt like paying for. And he also had a decent collection of public domain books in his digital library. In a corner of the room by the window was a computer, and it was still turned on, forever downloading from LimeWire whatever piqued Kain's interest. And there was a drawing station beside it with paper, pencils, and reference books inside the drawers. Dominating the entire room was his king-size bed. Kain has lived most of his life in a tiny uncomfortable bed, and when he was finally able to afford his own bed, he spared no expense, at least in the mattress department. The Paris-themed bed cover had been a gift from Carina, and she wanted to imply into Kain's head subliminally the idea of going to Paris as a couple. Everything in this room was so tidy that Carina had suspected that Kain suffered from OCD. As if to confirm this suspicion, Kain noticed that his pencil wasn't properly aligned with the table. He gave it a quick fix before focusing on his girlfriend. Seeing Kain take a minute to fix the stupid pencil irritated Carina to the very core. She rubbed her temple as the migraine began to manifest. Kain saw his girlfriend rubbing her temple, and he said with a look of concern, "If you have a headache, we can just call it a night. We do not need to make love at the end of all of our dates." It's fine, it will pass," said Carina, doubly irritated. Carina pushed Kain into the bed, and she got him out of his officer's uniform. The two became locked in the maiden embrace. After an hour, Carina got bored of the exercising futility. The headache was making it impossible for her to enjoy her boyfriend's familiar touch. And she took her chill pill for her headache, and she closed her eyes to sleep. And while she tried to rest, Kain left the bed, and he showered off Carina's cooties. He always did that after every play session, and at the end of his libations, he went to his side of the bed, and he slept as close to the edge as possible. While Kain slept peacefully, Carina turned in the bed, spinning like a wheel, and she turned her head to watch Kain's peaceful slumber. How she envied the fact that he could fall asleep so easily, and she stretched her hand to touch him, and he was so far away in the bed that she actually had to roll closer in order to pet his silky black hair. Carina closed her eyes, and instead of sleeping, she thought of high school. The former cheerleader had fond memories of her time in Barbara Woman, and she was in the best shape of her life, and she had her hot boyfriend Kain to boot, and Kain was quite active in the afternoon after-school clubs, and he was a track star. And whenever school had a late-night event, there was Kain either in the audience or as a participant, and at times it felt that Kain spent more time at school than at home, and this was to avoid going to an empty house. His grandparents were not always around. Grandpa Raphael and Grandma Esther had other responsibilities that also included helping Jack get rehabilitated. And when they were home, the pair would busy themselves grooming Kain into their perfect grandson. From his grandpa, Kain had learned how to shoot a gun, how to fix the sink, how to change the oil in the car, and other manly lessons. And while he lived, Grandpa Raphael encouraged Kain to maintain a healthy lifestyle, to always exercise, and to kiss girls whenever the opportunity presented itself. And from his grandmother, Kain learned how to cook, clean after himself, and how to balance a checkbook. Grandma Lester also taught Kain to respect women and how to cook. Oh, I also mentioned cook. Carina was trying to find the exact moment when Kain started changing, and before Carina realized that she had fallen asleep. Carina woke around the afternoon, and while she slept, Kain had gotten up bright and early. Kain made breakfast for himself and his grandma, and as tradition among grandmothers, Esther began her day by nitpicking Kain's relationship with Carina. "I can't believe you allowed that alley cat back into our house," said Esther before sipping her judgmental coffee. "I know that you don't like that grumpy old cat, but I'm worried about him," said Kain, alluding to a tuxedo cat he would sometimes allow into his house. "Somebody looks like he might drop dead soon, and I want to make as many fond memories with him before it is too late." "I wasn't talking about that stupid cat," retorted Esther. "I'm talking about Carina. She comes and goes like she owns the house, leaving her little presence in every corner of the room." "If you don't like that large ornamental cherry, you can just regift it," said Kain, pointing at a cherry ornament he had received from Carina as a gift. In order to mark her territory in Kain's home, Carina was of the habit of leaving random things. Sometimes it was as benign as her toothbrush. Other times she would give Kain a wallet made by a Cuban painter she particularly liked. Kain turned his head to admire the painting, and it featured a menina on bike wheels, and on top of her head she had a meat grinder that was turning poultry into fishes. It is whimsical, commented Esther, and I must admit that it really livens up the dining room. Well, you know, Grandma, that I have a fondness for cat, and Carina's a lot like a cat, said Kain. But do you love her, insisted Esther. People throw that word around like it means anything, said Kain. I enjoy her company, she's amusing, and most importantly, she is predictable. She hasn't changed one bit since I met her. Not that she needs to change. She's perfect just the way he is. Well, she's almost perfect. Almost perfect. Whenever her friend starts giving her stupid ideas, she becomes a pain in my ass. Does she want to go to Paris again? Asked Esther. Yes, that is the newest thing she wants me to do. Like Kain, Carina wanted Kain to confront his father. Doesn't she care that you'll get airsick? Asked Esther. No, she doesn't, said Kain dryly. As long as I do whatever she wants, she doesn't care how much I suffer. Did she bring the whip again? Asked Esther, worried. That was a one-time thing, and it was her birthday, and my hands were tied, literally and figuratively. I truly do wish you would find yourself a nicer girl to settle down, said Esther, hugging and puffing. They don't make nice girls anymore, Grandma, said Kain sadly. And with breakfast concluded, Kain went to do his morning jog around the neighborhood, and in order to distract himself, he put it on his Zune in an audiobook. And the device had been a gift from his uncle, and after his morning jog, Kain did a bit of weight training, and after an hour workout, he was finally free to continue with his life, and when he entered the living room, Esther and Carina stopped talking. If you two are done plotting against me, I'm taking Carina to her yoga class, said Kain, holding up the flyer. Yes, yoga, yay, said Carina, yawning. She had completely forgotten the couple's activity she had suggested. Both got inside the car and Kate drove to FIU. The class was to be officiated by a Janice nun, and it was only for FIU students, so they did not never bother to check for IDs. Any person could enter her classes whenever they felt like it. And Kate parked and the two left the car with her carpets, and the class took place in the park area facing the library. Kain laughed when he saw that the letter I from the FIU library was missing. Kain pointed this out to Carina, and the two got a hearty laugh out of it. You know, like if you remove the I from FIU, you're left with the letter F and followed by the letter U. That actually legit did happen for real one time in FIU. I was thinking, why don't we take a class together? Asked Carina. Let's finish with the yoga class first, and then we will see, said Kain. Both took their place in the background of the group, and the Janice nun walked into the scene all in white, and she was walking with a broom before her to avoid stepping on tiny ants. And she also covered her mouth to keep herself from devouring microbes. And her assistant directed the class, with the nun making corrections every so often. From time to time, the nun would ramble a bit about Janice's philosophy. Kain removed his jacket and he stretched his elegant limbs, and Carina frowned when it came for her turn to do the same, and her tight leggings had given her a muffin top. Carina grabbed her small fat folds, and she said to herself, "You have really let yourself go, Carina." "You're fine," retorted Kain. "A little meat in the bone never did anyone any harm." "That is easy for you to say," retorted Carina, starting to stretch. "I frankly prefer your current pin-up version. Back in high school, you look like a walking skeleton," said Kain, assuming the warrior pose. Carina frowned when she noticed that a nearby woman was checking out her boyfriend, and she was starting to regret suggesting the yoga class idea, and her face was turning red in impotent rage as she saw the woman attempt to start a conversation with Kain. "I haven't seen your face around campus," said Carina's competition. "I don't go to school. I do not see the point of wasting away the best years of my life in a classroom," said Kain. "Do you work handsome?" asked the maiden. "Yes, I am employed, and I give tickets to speeding drivers. It isn't an important job, but somebody has to do it," said Kain. "Have you ever shot anyone?" asked the maiden. My Uncle Boss doesn't let me use guns with real bullets," joked Kain, before assuming the reverse warrior pose. "When an incident does occur, I call for backup and I hide behind the biggest rock I can find." The maiden laughed heartily, and Carina, extremely jealous, asked, "And what's the joke, Kain? I want to laugh too." I told her that my uncle doesn't let me use guns with real bullets, said Kain, laughing. Is that a fact? Asked Carina. I don't know, you tell me, said Kain, reaching into his jacket to show Carina his revolvers. Oh, put that away, hissed Carina. And why do you even carry a loaded weapon? It is not loaded, so relax, said Kain, showing the empty cartridges. I keep the bullets in my pocket to avoid any accidents when walking among stupid civilians. You still didn't answer my question, said Carina. The nun passed by and she instructed Carina to assume the downward-facing dog position, and this pose made the blood rush into Carina's face, and this combined with the nun sound made her pretty dizzy. The interaction made her forget what she was talking about, and when she transitioned to the outward-facing dog, she was peeved when she noticed that Kain was still talking to the other woman. At the end of class, Kain had been cordially invited to a sorority party. Alright, that's the end of that chapter. Bye-bye.